Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I close it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Garden Report. Sorry for those in the chat waiting for the show to begin and wondering why we're so late. We had guesstimated 10:30 would be roughly halftime of that second game, but it went a little long. We are at halftime now with the Bulls leading the Hawks by 6. Bit of a surprise. Teeny bit of panic happened earlier because as soon as the Sixers beat the Heat, and that's the game we were all watching tonight and interested in, everyone's like, well, you know, Atlanta's a tougher matchup anyway. And Atlanta right now is struggling against the Bulls. That game, as we said, at halftime, still anybody's game. But, okay, we dodged Philly, I guess, right? That was the thing everybody was concerned with?
Yeah, toughest team out of the way by far out of the 4 here. And they didn't show it today, certainly. The Embiid injury came into play in a big way, Jimmy. He did not look right at all today. So I think that gives the Knicks some relief going into that series. What looked like it could have been an East Finals level series maybe gets a little bit easier for them. But Philly still found a way to defend when they needed to. Batum had some timely shots, and they're still dangerous. I think that's the team you want to avoid here. And by contrast, I thought the Heat looked horrible tonight, Jimmy, as they have for a lot of the season. It's not the playoffs yet. So once they get into round one, maybe they'll flip that switch, but they didn't do it tonight. They just had that nice start, mucked it up with the zone, and fell apart in the second half.
This was the Batum game. He had a massive one tonight for them. And you know, it's like one of those players where you don't really think he's not like the first guy that comes to mind as a guy's going to have an impact in a game or in a series. But that's when players step up. So credit to him. You're right, though. I mean, the Sixers, they obviously escaped, but there's definitely, if you're a Sixers fan, there's some concerns tonight after watching Embiid play. I think the Knicks, obviously being a physical team, they're going to be a tough matchup for Philly if they can like just be physical with Embiid, get him in foul trouble early, and like that's kind of the end of it. I feel like the Knicks are going to roll. But good on the Celtics for, again, missing that Sixers matchup that if you had to choose, you wanted to miss that from a competitive standpoint. I think it would have been a way more interesting series. I like the Boston-Philly matchup. I think
that's what you wanted?
That's what I wanted. Yeah, I mean, I just want to see a fun, interesting series. So I'm not sure Miami, Chicago, or Atlanta provide that same amount of I don't know. Like, there's just been a lot of moments through the years, Boston, Philly, and Embiid obviously being a great player, and just it gets emotional on both sides. Al Horford always gets into it with the Philly, fans and all that. So I think we'll miss that a little bit. And then you've got the Butler injury now. Apparently he's got a knee. They're going to do some tests on it when they get back to Miami. Obviously they have a must-win situation before they can even think about going any further. But if they are able to, win the next game, whether it's Chicago or Atlanta, if you're playing a Heat team, I already thought the Celtics would roll against the Heat even with Butler this year. The Heat just don't scare me that much. But if
I
Butler's
can't believe you're saying that.
Banged, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm like.
How many times have we said that in the history of this show?
Right. But this year feels different because I don't think the Heat are as good as they were in previous seasons. And I also think the Celtics are better than they were in previous seasons. So I just feel like the gap is too wide now between those two. But we'll see. We shall see.
So, counterpoint, Jimmy, to Philly looking weak, and this, they've basically won every game since Embiid returned.
Yeah.
They have a better,
right?
Yeah, they have a better record. They have a better winning percentage than the Celtics when Embiid is healthy, which I am not saying they're as good as the Celtics. All I'm saying is they were really good with him there. He's clearly not himself, but like counterpoint, while they might have gotten, I wouldn't say a cream puff, draw, but they avoid the Celtics. That's really good. And they get the Knicks. So that's as good as they could have hoped for given their positioning, right, where they were.
Definitely.
So they get into that slot. I mean, would it have been nice to get into the 6 and potentially get an Embiid less Milwaukee team? Definitely. But they might get
Giannis
less Milwaukee. But they might get Indiana in round 2 before and then you're looking at a healthy Embiid in the conference finals. So again, I think we forget a little that Philly was easily a top 2, top 3 team, threatening for the top of the conference before Embiid went down. So I don't think you can dismiss them completely out of hand for that.
I won't. I think it was more to do with it all hinges on Embiid, right? So I mean, if you think that he's going to keep playing, at the top of his game, then yeah, they're gonna be competitive against the Knicks. I like the Knicks. I just think that they're a team that, I mean, it would be so Knicks for them to just like completely fade out of nowhere, I guess, in the first round. But it just feels like they've got a lot of momentum. Brunson's playing like MVP caliber basketball. He's got the city on his shoulders. And I would just be surprised if they lost someone. But yeah, if you're Philly, you're happy to be going to New York and not Boston. And if you're Boston, you're happy that Philly's going to New York probably too, because you've got 3 options now. And I guess we'll find out shortly if down to 2. But whether it's Miami, Chicago, or Atlanta, I know they've had a couple of tough ones against Atlanta this year, but I mean, that series shouldn't go past 5 games. And I know maybe it sounds like I'm just writing the Heat off and I should just look at previous seasons, but I'll go back to what I said. I mean, if you're just looking at based on talent, the Celtics are a different team this year. The Heat didn't really do it for me that much this year. I know Bam is Bam and Jimmy is Jimmy, but this whole knee thing with Butler now, if he's at 75%, then I mean that's not enough for the Heat. They need 110% out of Butler.
Does it feel like, what's funny about the Heat, because I look at it a couple of different ways. One, how much of it is PTSD? A lot in terms of who they are. 2, Jimmy hurt or not hurt, and somebody kind of messaged me this too. Something's missing with his overall swag this year. I can't quite figure out what that is. And yeah, playoff Jimmy's a totally different animal. But if he's banged up here, I mean, who knows if they even get out of the play-in at that point. So it might be moot. But watching this game, I'm turning into Bobby Manning here. I'm looking at this Heat team and I'm like, who's good here? It's like
a lot of Kevin Love, a lot of Wright.
They just don't have the horses, man.
Right.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it. They just don't have the horses.
They don't. They play it. They play a system.
Even tonight, right? Spoelstra is probably the MVP of the first half. He goes into that zone. He messes things up. That only works for how long? Until some team's like, that's what happened. It's like, it's a cute tactic you do when you're overmatched and it's great. And like, if you were the Celtics, you allow it to completely break your brain and destroy a whole series. But like, even after a while, Philly's like, oh, let's just drive the paint. I'm Tyrese Maxey. I'm much faster than all of you. What am I doing here? And they started to attack, and then they started to find their shooters, and then Batum got hot. And, that was that. It lasted, the little zone spell lasted like a half. That's it. That's their game. That's the gimmick. That's what you got. You got that, and hoping Caleb Martin goes friggin' nuclear and shoots 50% from 3, and that Butler is off the charts good.
Yeah, and they're missing Richardson and Rozier potentially into this first round. He missed tonight's game. So they're missing pieces already off of what they missed last year, too. I think they missed Strus a ton. I think they certainly missed Vincent. So it's not the same team. Yeah. It's not the same Butler. There's plenty of reason to go into this series confident. Number one being what you've accomplished this year and what you added and the level you've reached on offense to be able to execute against a defense like that. And they went 3-0 against Miami this year. 1 in a blowout, 1 in clutch finish down there on the Super Bowl Sunday that you probably should have lost late on that Haywood Highsmith 3, but he can't hit threes, and that's part of the reason that they struggle.
Bobby.
And then you go to that crunch time finish in the second game of the year that was pretty good too. So You took care of the business during the playoffs. You're just wondering how different or during the regular season. You're just wondering how different it's going to be during the playoffs.
Got to interrupt you for some Twitter breaking news.
I'm trying to get a graphic. Yeah.
Shams just tweeted, Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler is feared to have an MCL injury in his knee. Sources tell The Athletic and Stadium. The injury could sideline Butler for an indefinite period. MRI to come.
He's out for the first round then.
The indefinite period might be one more game at this point for Miami. So, that's it. That might be all she wrote. You might be
tough. That is tough.
Whew.
Well, turn out the lights.
These guys are dropping like flies. Giannis last week. You had Zion last night. You have Butler tonight.
It's because of the pitch clock.
It's the pitch clock, but these play-in games now, it's like unnecessary injury in a play-in game against a team that, could have just made the playoffs. You could have just two teams that theoretically could have just made the playoffs. Instead, you just got one hurt.
That's why you want to avoid this thing. Whew. So what are we talking? Chicago, Atlanta now?
Apparently, I would think so. I mean, it sounds like he's not going to be playing Friday.
Yeah, indefinite seems to be at least one game, and everyone making fun of my,
internet,
my Wi-Fi and all of that. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm in a hotel. The wife finally kicked me out, and that's it.
Say anything? Yeah, yeah. He's in a Holiday Inn down the street, guys. All right.
I still get to see. I can drive by and see my kids as they go off to school. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
I'm close by. I'm still close by.
Well, no, I thought it was that
hey, Mommy, is that Daddy crying in his car outside?
You told her that you needed to give your undivided attention to the Celtics during the playoffs. She said
yes.
I have it.
Let me help you with that.
Low. Yeah, I'm at Joe Sway's guest house. It's as lower resolution as possible, so I don't completely glitch out and turn into. I couldn't tell if Joe Sway was Max Headroom last show or like what the Predator sounds like when it makes that sound, like every time he was talking. That was.
I had pretty bad connection that day too.
Oh,
that was a bad day to be at the Garden.
Yeah,
there's
so
just like
Jimmy,
footage of Butler like barely being able to walk out of the Garden, like on his own power.
Yeah, amazing.
Out of
he
the
played
stadium.
The Philadelphia Garden.
Here's again alternate opinion. Jimmy Butler suffers sprained MCL. Butler's going to go 44 minutes in the play-in game and score.
Yeah, who knows? Points. It's tough to make any assumptions here. Usually MCLs are pretty bad though.
He does that shit all the time.
That's an injury that knocked Durant out the last few years there in Brooklyn for weeks, and I'm trying to think of some other examples too. There's been a bunch of these over the years, and they're usually on the longer side. But like you said, John, do or die game. Do you just gut through it? Just get out there, be a diversion, and pass the ball. I don't know. They're going to challenge him if he is, though, and they certainly did tonight at times, Philly, and he just didn't look like himself. He wasn't able to get shots off. They went to Hero on the ball, which didn't go well either. So there's a real concern. We're still going to see what's happening with this.
What happened to Duncan Robinson today? They went with, he just phased out.
Yeah. And that's the difference, too, this year. You have Robinson.
They went with Jovic,
You have Hero, who you can go after. So the real team you want to avoid at this point, honestly, is Atlanta, because
Hero might be the worst player in the league. Also he can light it out. Hero's brutal, man. He's really brutal.
They went on that East Conference run without him.
Yeah.
So, and Hawks are trying to reintegrate Young now too. Similar story, a great offensive player in many ways. He's that guy you can target.
I know Robinson had a back injury. Rozier was out. I don't know if he's back for the next game. But yeah, I don't know. They might be screwed. He's not the worst player. I'm not saying he's the worst player. Hero. I think Hero's just he's a problem for Miami. He's a problem for his team more than he is for other teams a lot of times. I don't know. you're just gonna attack him. I don't know.
And that's the name of the game for the Celtics, Jimmy. If they have a guy they can go after on the other side, they're not going to let that guy off the hook. And whether it's Kobe White with Chicago, whether it's Trae Young, whether it's Hero or Robinson, that's how they're going to win this series. And now that you're seeing Heat not look the same, have this injury, these two teams that honestly shouldn't even be in the playoff mix in Chicago and Atlanta. And
I know.
again, I think you give a little bit of credit to the Hawks based on what they did a couple weeks ago to make it tough on you. But tough this year, Jimmy, should mean you play a game or two that goes down the wire and you pull it out and you still win the series in 4 or 5, not the series goes 6-7 because you blew a game or two. So this is stacking up pretty well for the Celtics right now. These are still tough teams, but you went undefeated against Chicago. You went undefeated against Miami, and you probably should have gone undefeated against Atlanta, save for those screw-ups down there. But those were late-season games that you probably weren't taking super seriously. So it's shaping up well. You should not have an issue in this first round. And honestly, looking ahead to the second round, you ended up on the right side of the bracket there, too. So this is looking pretty good for Boston right now.
Yeah, because you avoid New York, Philly, and Milwaukee in the second round, too.
And Indiana. Yeah, you worry about them a little bit, too.
In Indy, yeah.
I mean, could you have a clearer path? I mean, again, it's you don't want to jinx it, but like, holy crap, are things just, I mean, Embiid's on one leg, Giannis is out.
That's the crazy thing. Everyone's banged
you just
up.
You just lost Butler. The whole thing is whacked.
You got to wrap the Celtics team up in like bubble wrap right now.
Play the stay ready crew round 1.
You just stay healthy, and you're gonna go to the finals at this point.
Yeah.
Caruso dinged himself up here in this game too. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he was on the bench. It looked like he had ice around his foot. Really? Roll an ankle or something. I don't know if I missed it, but
I haven't.
But yeah,
seen it either.
Yeah.
What's the score to that one right now? Do we know?
It's a 5-point game. Chicago's up 5. The third quarter just got underway. So again, that one's a little bit just in terms of matchups here. We know Celtics 3-0 against the Heat in the regular season. This year they went 3-0 against Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then as everybody knows and everybody remembers all too well, the 2-2 versus Atlanta with those 2 wins coming back to back on that ill-fated road trip that we sent Bobby and Ahmed on, where they went there and the Celtics fell apart. With those 2 games 4 days apart.
A 30-point lead, and then played a disastrous
Drummond ran
into
into
the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Lost in overtime.
So again, it's nuts.
So I think you give a little bit of thought to Atlanta giving you some problems. And were they better without Young? Probably in some ways, yes. Probably in other ways, no. And he's just back for his 4th game tonight, so he's super early in his return, but conditioned. It was a finger injury, so he's probably doing some stuff with his strong hand and able to, stay on the treadmill or whatever that might be, strength training, all that. So it's not like he's going to come in out of shape and not have his footing under him in this series like Embiid might in his return to action since he's been back with the knee injury. This team does a lot of things that bother you. Intense on the offensive glass. They have perimeter defenders that they can throw at Brown and Tatum. They launch a ton of threes. They're going to match your 53s a game. So, especially with Butler out, if he is, this might be the team you want to avoid out of the 3 here, amazingly enough. The 10th seed that struggled all year, just because they've given you so much trouble in this matchup. Even those first 2 matchups that you won, I feel like they played you well. And Young, like he did last year, can steal a game by hitting 5-6 threes. So this is a team that's missing Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu. They're probably going to miss the first round based on their timelines right now. So they're shorthanded too here, but they still have enough to at least bother you. And they have a really good coach too, in Quinn Snyder. So again, you shouldn't be going 6-7 games here, but maybe each individual game in this series ends up being a little tougher than you want it to be. If you're looking at these 3 teams, you probably choose Chicago just based on how you played these 3 teams during the year.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But, to Jimmy's point, you kind of want to get fired up about
Chicago?
something, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
If you want an easy win.
You do. You're on track for some snooze fest matchups at this point. I mean, you could end up with
I know.
freaking
That's why I was saying
Chicago,
with you, Jimmy.
Orlando, freaking
That's what you deserve, though, when you win 64 games.
I know, but that's what I was saying.
No.
What Jimmy was saying, there's some merit to like, screw it. Give him the toughest matchup so you can freaking, it's like, I just want to feel something, like,
Yeah.
like
We just trudged through the last 2 months of this regular season,
it's
Bobby.
been so long since we've felt anything. At this
I
point,
know.
just throw them in the arena and with the Lions and just a net and just have at it. You just want to see something happen.
Yeah,
we want to see
You're
something
gonna get
happen.
battle tested. You don't want to just cruise to the NBA Finals and then run into a buzzsaw and be like you aren't ready for an actual.
Hey, it's a fair
team.
point. We said that, and that's why we wanted Miami. Some of us did here, and now that Atlanta could be the biggest challenge to you if Butler's hurt, test your rebounding out, test your interior defense.
If it's Chicago, we're not even doing Garden reports for the first round. We're not doing it.
We're not sending Bobby.
If they go Chicago if they go Chicago, Orlando, we're gonna take 2 weeks off. We're gonna come back refreshed for the conference finals. Okay.
It's gonna feel like a glorified regular season game. Like, Orlando, another one with Orlando. Okay.
Chicago, Orlando would be some first, second round combination.
NBA would want to die too. I mean, those are not the markets you're looking to toss in the limelight.
Maybe they knew throwing Celtics on 1 o'clock Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Deliver you guys a couple of promotional messages here as this game kind of rolls along, and get involved here with PXG. It is golf season, my friends. Okay, and you want to play well. That's fine. Go get your nice clubs. They've got some awesome clubs, custom made. If that's what you think you need, get after it. But you want to look good all the time, and PXG is the way to do so. That was mine. That guy, that last guy, that was my shirt. Awesome. Great apparel, fun, light, breathable, really good stuff over at PXG. Go to pxg.com/garden and save 10% on all apparel right now. You want to look good. This is a terrific discount on some high quality merch. Really, really, really good golf attire, and it's not just the stuff that you would wear while golfing. Stuff that you could wear out, cool looking quarter zips, pants, sweatshirts, polos, whatever it is.
Hole action, yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. It's awesome. In addition, the play-in round is here, and you want to get down with Prize Picks. Real playoffs start on Saturday, but you can get in on the action now with Prize Picks. Just download that app, America's #1 DFS fantasy platform. All you have to do, pick some of your favorite players you hate, doesn't matter. Select more or less and watch the winnings roll in. Use that promo code CLNS. When you download the app, you get a deposit match up to 100. Once again, download that app. Boom, little box right there. What's your code? CLNS. Deposit, bing, 100 right in your bank account. You get to use it for whatever you want, more or less. Get after it. You can win up to 10 times your money here. CLNS content, Bobby Tiger Manning. I love it. And then again, that's PXG.
Hopefully not Tiger from the Masters last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might look more like it.
That might.
Jimmy, you said it at the top of the show. Especially now that we know this about Butler, man, Philly winning that game was big.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't want to have to deal with it. You didn't want to have to deal with the Embiid thing. You didn't want to have to deal with Nick Nurse, all the perimeter defenders flying around. It's just too much for round one. Let the Knicks deal with that.
Yeah, Celtics didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
After the regular season,
they're not a play-in team, and they showed it again tonight. They had a guy step up off the bench and hit 6 threes and win the game for them. And Embiid wasn't great, but he was still good as a passer. He still cut up that zone at times. They were a turnover mess in this game early, and they cleaned it up a little bit in that second half. Got some good contributor performances. Maxey, Oubre had that big and one inside. So if Embiid's out there, they should be a 4th, 5th seed at worst. And here they are as the 7th seed playing the Knicks. So good luck to both of them. Ticket prices are going to be $1 million.
Yeah.
They're both going to be fighting
that's
against each other's arena.
That's going to be the series that people are going to want to tune into is that one. Knicks, Sixers.
It's good for Mike Gorman It's good for Mike Gorman fans because the Celtics, if they end up drawing Chicago or Atlanta, are not going to get a lot of national attention off of that matchup.
Mike Gorman's final run extended.
Yeah, fewer national games. Might be fewer total games, but fewer national games for sure. Because who cares? Who freaking cares? Once again, Chicago.
Yeah, when the Celtics go up 3-0 on the freaking Bulls, no one's going to.
Chicago hanging on. They're up 6. So while we wait to figure out who they're going to be potentially playing, and again, it'll only be narrowed to 2 tonight. We're not going to know until Friday. The playoffs, of course, begin Sunday. We're a little bored here on the Garden Report, so we figured we would revisit some of our bold predictions from a year from the beginning of the year. And I want to throw out the caveat again. These are bold predictions, which are meant to be ridiculous.
John's saying this because he got none right.
I get
you didn't either, bud.
I might have got one. I think I did have one right.
Listen, again, in the spirit of, and not to trash them while they're not here, in this, Jimmy's the only one that gets it. And Bobby, you get it. But in the spirit of bold predictions, it's supposed to be bold, outlandish, unlikely to happen. In my case,
but you're still able to make your point.
You're trying to make a point. Exactly. It's a talking point. It's more, I feel this, so I'm going to say something outlandish to overmake my point. But then Josue and Sherrod are like, Jason Tatum's going to score at least 25 points a game this year. I'm like, no way. Really?
Yeah, Tatum and Brown are going back to the All-Star game.
By the way, I was reading through it yesterday, and we're all like, oh, John goes Celtics over Warriors and blah, blah, blah. I think, Jimmy, you had the Suns in there, right?
Yeah.
Or something like
2
that.
people had the Suns. So did Josue. Yeah.
Sherrod just goes NBA champions in 6.
Yeah, that's it.
First of all,
you might be right.
No, John did not say this, but someone did.
I'm glad you asked, Luke.
Let me just say.
Here we go.
Horford coming off the bench this year worked out great. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was going to work, but it worked great. So
let's just start with Bobby's first prediction.
Very big of you, Bobby, as they won 80
This
games.
is just to show how little Bobby thought of Holiday to begin the year. Holiday will start fewer than 50 games. So that was the first bold prediction, which was, in Bobby's estimation, I think this meant that they're going to start with him out of deference because they just traded for an all-star and you want to bring him in here and keep him happy, and Horford's going to be the good soldier, but that they kind of see the error of their ways and want to go to a double big lineup. And maybe it was lack of faith in Kristaps to hold down the middle. But why was it you thought this, and what changed here, Bobby?
Horford had never come off the bench before this year. And when he got asked in camp, didn't seem to love it, didn't seem to fully commit to it. And then they had that starter meeting with all the top 6 there, and he embraced it at that point. And it was a struggle early on. Remember, John, he wasn't playing well the first few weeks of the season, Horford. And Drew, you didn't know how he was going to adjust to being a 5th option in there. And what did he do? He goes and hits 60% of his corner threes and grabs 2 offensive rebounds every night and just becomes this 3-and-D guy for them. So it worked great. The small ball lineup still defended amazingly. They still got to double big in rotation because you had some Luke minutes. You ended up getting Tillman. You were playing Keita at different points. So it just worked. You didn't know if all these things were going to happen, but they did. And, Horford by the end of the year still ends up shooting 42% from 3 and playing the level of defense he can, and still being a strong part of their lineups late into the season. So I thought Holiday could be the guy to run the second unit, to sacrifice with that group, but he found a way to sacrifice and still contribute with the starters, and it became one of the best starting lineups in the league. So I'm happy to be wrong about this one.
It got there. It got there eventually, right after game 1.
Yeah, it took a bit. It took a few possessions, but they figured it out.
But the bench didn't come together for a little while, and then it did. The
Because they
bench had a
didn't have
great
a
year.
bench, but yeah.
5 minutes in, this is the best starting lineup ever. That was it.
Yeah, never looked back.
We'll move on to Jimmy. Speaking of the bench, one of Jimmy's bold predictions: Peyton Pritchard wins the 3-point contest.
Where was he?
Okay,
So
this
here's
didn't
the thing.
happen, but the spirit of this prediction was rooted in what, Jimmy?
In the fact that he was going to come into his own this year and be a lethal shooter from beyond the arc. And you know what? If they named him to the 3-point contest, he probably would have won the damn thing, because I don't think this guy's missed since the All-Star break.
Hold on, Jimmy. Say it with me. He had a phenomenal year.
He had a phenomenal year, Bobby. And
The irony of it wasn't that he had a good 3-point shooting year. The irony of it is it was down, I think, year over year, right? This year.
Let's go. Let's talk about last
No,
year.
it wasn't. It was up over last year, but his career mark is still slightly higher. But actually, almost everything else about his game improved, right? His defense, his ball handling, and the passing was crazy. He announced his presence with authority.
Yeah, his role just grew exponentially. I think he played all 82 this year, correct? One of a handful of guys. So
he was terrible to start. This one looked really bad early because he couldn't hit anything to start the year. I don't remember what his exact splits were, but it was.
I'd like to know his post All-Star break numbers, because
let's pull it up. Actually,
he's just. I mean, listen. I mean, they're not going to be. They probably won't blow you away, but I mean, we can all recall some of these games where he really took control. Stepped up on games where players were sitting or resting or whatever. And he showed that if you do give him a big enough role, he's capable of giving you 20 plus points a night. And so that's what we started to see from him in the second half of this year. So credit to me for in a roundabout way, my bold prediction kind of predicted this happening.
April was Pritchard's month. He finished that month averaging 19 points per game, including a 38 and a 31 spot to close the season.
Yeah.
On 56, 40, 87, 88 splits. Also averaging 7 assists and 1.1 turnover per game in the month of April. And again, a lot of garbage time play and some garbage time opponents. But some of that stuff was real and inserted into starting lineups with people sitting. It was something.
You still gotta do it.
So he did it. I'm missing one of my.
That's a win. I'll give myself a win for that one.
And I'm missing Hauser, so we'll have because I'm not going to do mine yet.
He had a Boston Pea party.
You can do my other one. I think my other one's there, right?
Okay, we'll go to your other one. This was going to play nice. There it is, Sam Hauser. This was one of mine. Hauser. Yikes. I wasn't sure. This one was not.
Hard to spin this one.
Well, put it this way. This one was not a bold prediction. This one was I don't know that his minutes are guaranteed this year. I wasn't sure. And that was because
you didn't like the bench until the very end.
It wasn't just that. I thought the bench was people. I made my case on the bench. The bench had good overall numbers because they were consistently playing with 3 all-star level starters or 3 high-level guys, and most people aren't doing that. Most people's bench, and again, I realize it's not sub 5 in and 5 out, so you're not really worried about what's the next 5 look like? But they were just always playing with 2 starters, which is why I wasn't worried about the bench, but I didn't like the bench. Hauser, I thought, was vulnerable only because I wasn't sure he was guaranteed minutes, because they brought in guys like Stevens and Brissett and Banton and guys who, if they were able to knock down a 3 or 2 consistently, their defense and what Missoula might be looking for out of them might have replaced him, or at least made it situationally dependent. I'll play him some games, but some games we're going to sit him. So I didn't think he was guaranteed locked into that top 8 slot as he was, and he was absolutely. Mm-hmm. But it was still it was uncomfortable at times. Uncomfortable getting there. He had some cold stretches, and then when the shot was falling, it was great. But he does the other stuff much better than we give him credit for, or than a lot of people give him credit for in terms of, playing he's not getting played off the floor, I guess. That's
He
the
became a
main
3
thing,
and D guy in
defensively.
a lot of ways.
And he's fine on D. I mean, he's a specialist, but he's not killing you. He's not killing you.
He had 9 games this year with 5+ threes.
Yeah.
1 6-point game, 6 3-pointer game, 2 7 3-pointer games, then of course the 10 3-pointer game where he probably should add like 15.
Right.
So he was incredible.
He's the guy that when he's in the game, you have to pay attention to him. He's absolutely he's going to be on every scouting report. Don't leave this guy open. Don't lose sight of him in the corner, whatever it is. Like you can't just say, oh yeah, they're throwing in a couple of bench guys. Let's try to.
I love this stuff, John.
This deficit.
What?
If he ever did this for the Celtics, you think they'd be saying that?
What?
Oh,
he did what?
The Banton
doesn't count.
I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I get it, but like you would never say that if he was catching fire on the Celtics.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Jimmy.
No, I know, but it's different situations here. 12-point game right now.
Chicago.
Late in the third, Chicago is pushing it. And honestly, and I think this is a good comment by DJ. Thank God it did work because they did need him, right? Like, I just didn't think you were getting to 8 solid. The reason I made the prediction, again, not to defend it, it was I thought they'd be searching. I thought they'd be searching for that rotation. I thought the beginning of the year, the 6 is fine. No love for Pritchard. You play him because you have to. No love for Howard. You play him because you have to. And that's it. That's where I thought they were. And no love for anybody else behind that. You almost were hoping one of these guys would win some minutes. Like you like Hauser in there knocking down threes, but didn't part of us and part of a lot of people wanted a couple of these other guys to step up and like do something. And you weren't expecting dynamic performances out of guys like Brissett and Stevens, but you were hoping they'd be a little bit more than they were. No one got enough of a chance. Joe trusted Hauser, and he got it. We're going to move on. What else we have? Bobby, this segues well because he wanted it to happen.
I like them.
Banton becomes a surprise wing. This was a terrible take that now has become a good take because of how Banton played in, but because of how Banton played in Portland. This was the worst take that now is absolutely like
he didn't say that it would be a backup wing on the Celtics. He just said backup wing.
This is now defensible.
Yeah. He had a preseason game.
It is an 18-point game right now. Bulls up 18. Timeout.
Bulls heard that Butler's down. Bulls heard Butler's not coming back, and
they're like, start trying again.
Yeah, this is for the playoffs, boys.
Holy wow. Shit's getting
had
real.
a great camp. Banton learned their system pretty quickly. He had an awesome
Banton's the first guy they tried. He's the first guy. He's the first guy at the table of the three of the. Let's throw Svi in the mix too, as like the 4 rando guys who played for other NBA teams, last year that like 90% of casual basketball fans had never heard of before. They got 4 of those guys, so everyone was trying to figure out what they were about and wondering if they were about a little bit more than they appeared. Banton was the first guy that he was given reps to. Didn't he start a preseason game and everyone was like, "What?" Like
he started a regular season game at one point.
Yeah, but everyone was like, "This guy." They were trying to force Banton in there, and it wasn't working. His shot was so bad in the beginning, Bobby, that he made himself unplayable. He shot like 10%.
Listen, I still think it was a mistake to let him go. Not a big mistake.
We know.
Not a mistake that's going to hurt them. But he's a good player. And you keep good players around. You try to figure things out. Maybe some guys end up leaving down the line. He has a team option next year. It's too bad. And he didn't know he was going to do this. There was no way to know that. And he wasn't going to do that here, certainly, to all the commenters who are about to say that. But he's got scoring in him. You said it, John, in our chat at one point. This is the kind of guy you need, a burst scorer off the bench who can come in and give you some offense if you need it. An injured guy's down. He fits into the rotation at that point, gets that extended run where you can find some rhythm. And who knows? Maybe this is what he needed to show this part of his game. There's certainly an argument for that. But what'd you get for him? Nothing. And who'd you fill in his spot with? Keita, a guy who was already here. So
Sort
in
of.
the end, it probably is a small
It
mistake.
was really more what's his name?
Springer, yeah, who didn't show a
Springer.
ton down the stretch of the year either.
What's his
So,
name? Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I'm not a big.
Spring.
I mean, maybe
But
it'll change.
Springer,
But
Steven
not doing
said
that
it
much
about
for me.
Keita. Steven said it about Keita. It's the same thing about Springer. These are bench guys 2 years from now. You know, like that's how
Right.
they're viewing these guys, not for
Yeah.
this year's contribution. So it was a peek ahead at what we're gonna
Which
guys who
fine.
might be
Too
able to
early to judge.
develop, because again, you're not and Brad said it regarding Keita, like your 15th guy isn't expected to do anything in the playoffs.
I was gonna bring
So
that up later, John.
Because I
Think
think
Brad
the
was
reason
watching?
I think the reason Brad said that is because it's going to be really awesome when he does. He just didn't finish the sentence. But that's the point. That's what those guys are supposed to be. Start Nemus. You want to go double big? Yeah, I'll do it with Keita. Keita versus Embiid is going to be awesome in the conference finals.
Yeah.
It is. It is. So a reasonable take that Bobby ended up being vindicated before too long. This was a Jimmy take. Kristaps Porzingis saves a baby from a burning building on way to TD Garden and proceeds to drop 25-10-7 that night. This was basically the sequel to who got left behind on the bus and everybody forgot?
Derek
Brogdon?
White left
No.
on the plane.
Derek White.
Derek
White
White.
would get left behind in a city and nobody would notice.
That was
the
awesome.
prediction.
That was our best prediction
And he
ever.
did get left behind. Remember?
Yeah,
He
with the
actually got
ear.
left behind. He got left in
Yeah.
Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, he burst his ear and he had to stay.
Because he burst
Yeah.
something. Yeah. When shit
And honestly,
burst. Yeah.
we're not entirely sure that Porzingis didn't save a baby and maybe just didn't
It's
make
possible.
the news.
He's
Yeah.
a
might
humble
have, yeah.
guy.
Honestly, it's quite possible based on the way he's played this season. And again, don't like the 25-10-7. I know that like the 10, I know that he's not a 7 assist a night guy, but on any given night, he could have given you 25, 10, 3 blocks or whatever it is. He had one of those types of years. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he would have saved a baby on the way to work that day. This guy's been unreal for them. This is not a hot take, but he is my X factor in this playoff run. He is the biggest difference between this year and last year. And, they're going to need him to unlock playoff P mode, playoff Porzingis mode. We haven't even seen that. So I'm excited to see Porzingis ratchet it up even another
He's
notch.
playoff P?
He's the new playoff P, yeah. We have playoff PP and we have playoff P. Paul George, he had his chance and he blew that, so he's no longer playoff P. But Porzingis, this is every next game for Porzingis is going to be the biggest game of his life. So I'm really interested to see how he, how he changes up, how he plays harder, and how effective he is. And I mean, he's said and done all the right things this year, and it seems like he's got like new life on this.
That's
Celtics
why you
team.
got this right, Jimmy. The connection with the fans, the joy, the instant fit he became here.
Right.
John, you talk about it all the time. Guys who get the experience here, guys who don't.
Yeah, you got it right away.
He got it from day one.
It's so. I mean, again,
Tingus.
it's hard to. It's hard to say it without it sounding like a. And Trae Young, by the way, 3 of 9 tonight, minus 30. It's an 18.
How is he only
game
3 of 9? He only took
entering
9
the fourth
shots.
quarter. Murray's still jacking. Murray's got the 44 shotter still in his mind, and he's still out there friggin' letting him fly.
That's gonna be an ugly block room.
DeRozan snatching souls. He just hit a 23-foot contested jumper with both feet like square on the 3-point line. He wasn't even pretending to try to get behind it. He's like, it's a good shot for me. He just pulled up top of the key and just drilled it in someone's face. Kobe White, 28 points, 10 of 14 shooting. I love the midi. I always have. It's just, I just love it.
Atlanta. Sorry.
So, well, the thing about Porzingis, and again, why this is
for the best.
It's the getting it thing. He got it instantly, Bobby, as you said. He feels like he's been a Celtic for 10 years in almost in a month or two. And it's like, again, oh, here goes John taking shots at the, Tatum and Brown. It's the stuff we kind of begged and wanted to hear from Tatum and Brown a little bit more. Like, you do like us, right? Fans are just pouring all their love into these guys and like buying their jerseys and like, naming their kids after them and like, I love them, I love them, yeah. And at any point in time, you're like, just like, you guys like it here, right? Like you kind of like it. Do you like it a little? Like, and yeah, you get drips and drabs, but not the vibe, not the feeling.
You like me, right?
You know the difference, right? Like how quickly KG took it. Porzingis is kind of like that, He didn't have the impact KG had because KG turned everything around. The alphas on this team are still the guys who were here before. KG came in and completely took over and was the center of the Celtics universe in 2008. But Porzingis kind of came in immediately and was like, I'm all in. This is what I awesome.
Do. Yeah, I'm better than what you guys thought.
Great. Holiday too, in a very quiet way. Like, oh, yep, I dig this. And he was heartbroken.
Oh, it is about his business.
He was heartbroken to have left, and he was like, I like this vibe, man. I really dig it. Porzingis right away, and then he opens up Jaylen Brown, and they become roommates, and they're like, best buddies and all of that stuff. And it like the culture was great. He was awesome with the media all year. He was just like a good dude. And like one of the potential fears of this guy coming in is like, to quote Jimmy, I heard he's kind of a dink. Yeah.
Complete pleasant surprise in terms of
that is a direct quote, actually. I was wrong. Hand up. I got the guy saving babies now, so you can see how I've done a 180.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been more pleasantly surprised with an addition. This was an A+. Couldn't have worked better. It unlocked the team. And who would have thought? He was right there, Jimmy. He was in Washington for 2 years.
Yeah,
3 years ago, 3 years ago, we were debating trading Kemba for him, and we all said, no way. Awful contract. Not good anymore. And here he is these years later, rejuvenated. He had to go through all that, obviously, and look in the mirror, as he said. But just a very self-aware guy.
Perspective is key. I think he has a lot of better perspective on basketball and being a good teammate and being on a good, good organization and growing up and understanding like who he is as a player and maybe off the court too. And like all those things kind of happen at the right time. We may have not have liked him 3 years ago. Maybe we still would have, maybe I would have said he was a dink and I would have stood by it. But I honestly we don't know enough about him then, but all that matters is now. And he's exactly what this team needed, I mean, and they've got him, for another couple of years here. And so I just think that, like you said, Bobby, A+ addition. And, all that being said though, you want to see what he's made of in the playoffs. For all we say,
him save a baby.
KG and all those guys, they brought it when, they sealed the deal. They did what they came here to do, unfortunately only once, but they're at least able to do it. And so that's really how it's ultimately going to go down for all these guys is what happens in the end. But to date, they've been everything and more than what you've wanted from the two additions, Porzingis and Holiday.
Yeah. And I did want to see just for the sake of Porzingis just shattering Spoelstra's little gimmicky zone in round one. It's one of the reasons I wanted to see the Heat, because that didn't work this year against the Celtics, when they tried it. And
Porzingis is great against them.
Yeah. So I did want to see that here. It's a 20-point game, 10 minutes left. Bobby, but you know what? We talk about sad girls. We're going to talk about sad Bobby. Bobby was sending palm tree emojis.
Yeah, he was.
And like beach emojis, Miami. And he had already booked.
You think they're done?
You already had booked dinner plans at a couple spots. I think he was going to.
You're going to the middle of America, buddy. Yeah.
I think the Heat can still win that game.
We'll see.
Without Butler?
At home?
Come on.
At home, we got big home court advantage in Miami.
Don't have to travel though.
Really get that one. Really get that big home court advantage. All right, we'll throw out
Bias
mine, and
reporting
again,
coming out right now.
Oh, here
Again-
we go. Let's go. 2 years in a row I won this one.
why did I do this one? It's called
Just to
trolling.
try it again. You're gonna try it again next year if he's back.
This is an
I just-
evergreen. This is an evergreen prediction. Bobby.
I'll do it again next year. I will roll
And
this one
someday
out.
he will be right. And
One of
someday
these
he will be
days,
right.
until I'm right. I'm going to roll it out again and again and again and again. Yeah, Luke Kornet played in 63 games this year. He was actually legitimately hurt for some of them. He would only have been a healthy scratch in maybe 8 to 10 games, I think, all year long. So, yes, Luke shatters this prediction and makes it wrong for a second year in a row. And that's fine.
Good
I'll
on
eat
you,
it because
Luke.
I'm doing it mainly because it's fun to mess with Bobby. But two, my overarching point is I never thought, and I still don't think, Luke is a set part of a rotation that deserves minutes. And I don't say this in any way to disparage Luke, who I thought played. He was the best version of Luke Kornet that he could possibly be this year. And that could both be a compliment and and an insult. But he was great for Luke Kornet.
He's your third center. As we determined.
Your third center put up 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks per 36.
Per 36. There it is.
Yeah. Here comes Luke.
He had a
Get after it.
phenomenal season.
He did. We'll give it to him. We will give it to him.
Luke is
Stronger
as good.
too, John. Come on, played stronger, got on the boards a little bit more this year, played with some force. He didn't play a total finesse game, which you've seen him do in the past. I thought he had a great year and showed
he
some
became
growth.
their lob threat. He became their
Yeah.
lob threat.
Shot 70%.
He took Rob's role. He took Rob's lob role, away. Not away, but somebody had to. He was a good little weapon there. They ran a good little running those pick and rolls, and those guys would find him and set it up. That was an effective play for them. Again, he maximized being tall in that role, and I thought it was great. But also, he has good hands. He can move the ball, and I think most importantly,
Smart
and
player too.
the thing that keeps him in the thing is he doesn't get smoked on rotations. And I think trusting somebody on defense that they're not going to absolutely kill you is probably more valuable to the team than, the occasional spectacular Neemias Queta block. And again, we talk about the comps between Queta and Rob. It's the thing that kept Rob off the court for a couple of years is I don't know what this guy's going to necessarily do. With Luke, you know what you're going to get. It's unspectacular, sometimes not great, but more often than not good enough. And that's what you got from him this year. And he was pleasant. And again, I'm not saying any of this to be mean. I think it's an honest assessment. He was.
What do you want for your third center?
For Luke, yeah. you found it? It's your third center. Oh, really?
He is
naturally occurring.
Still poking around.
Naturally occurring. It is 114-196 here. That's gonna have to be a serious comeback. Caruso has not re-entered the game. We'll say this here too for people.
Oh jeez.
When you're a 500 team though, you win one, you lose one. I still got Miami.
All right, it's possible. I'll say
What's
this.
Miami without Butler, Bobby?
Still got Hero, still got Bam. He's still a team. It's not like Butler's the MVP. They can still win a game.
He's their MVP.
Bam will take more control of things, and they'll stack that. Now, listen, if it's Butler, Robinson, and Rozier out, at that point you're getting a little deep in your depth chart. But
Rozier,
I think generally they could win a game. I have to see who's going to be out there, though. If it's the G League crew, it's going to be tough.
Alex Caruso, most likely out for the rest of the game, they're saying. But again, they've got a lead here, so it doesn't really say anything. I mentioned Caruso. He's a real X factor. There's two X factors in that Chicago series potentially. No, I mean he's gonna mess with somebody, Tatum or Brown,
Right.
And because he's that good. And again, we're not talking about shutting somebody down or out completely, but He's one of the he's one of those guys. He's an absolutely ferocious defender, and that's great. And then Kobe White, again, I think they'll attack him and they'll hunt him, and he's little. That's the type of guy that the Celtics guards are going to have a difficult time staying in front of. That is if they end up with Chicago. And Vucevic killed them last time.
Yeah, he's a tough matchup for Porzingis.
He killed
Ooh.
Porzingis last time. They won that. Celtics won that game, but he killed Porzingis.
I always thought he'd end up on the Celtics, but he never did.
Yeah. So you definitely have a couple of things that you don't love, but again, what are we talking about here? It almost feels like cheating, to have this type of road.
DeRozan
earned it with the regular season.
You did. You're right. You're supposed to have a cupcake in round one, but that wasn't the case out west. I mean, look at those first round matchups. That's not going to be
the
fun.
East is kind of garbage compared to the West.
It turned into garbage for sure.
The Thunder get the Kings. That's comparable to what the Heat would have been or something like that. The Thunder went out and got that 1 seed, and that's a huge boon for them. And I think the Nuggets are probably not going to have too much trouble with the Lakers. But the Lakers are still tougher than what the Thunder are going to see. So we'll see how that stacks up.
So it's Thunder. What is it now?
Thunder versus Kings or Pelicans.
Gotcha.
And there's no Zion.
So,
right.
Hey, I said it after they beat the Celtics earlier in the year. I would not be shocked if the Thunder make the finals. You just
Jimmy,
can't.
Where's your head right now?
My bad. I was looking at something. I don't think you can be shocked, Bobby. They're a 2 seed.
They're 1 seed.
Sorry, they're a 1 seed. So how can you be shocked? It's not like you can't be shocked.
Yeah, but people haven't believed in them. You had people saying Lakers should tank to 8 to play the Thunder. That's the level of belief in the Thunder.
I think it has more to do with trying to avoid Denver.
Yeah.
I think people, rightfully so, you've got obviously Jokic is going to be the MVP. They are the reigning champions. The Thunder kind of shot out of a cannon, but we talked about it on previous shows, Bob. I think it was maybe after that Celtics Thunder game. They have a roster of guys that are just unheralded. So like Jalen Williams, for example, like he does a hell of a lot for that team, but you only hear about SGA, right? Giddey's a guy that's really coming into his own.
Giddey killed them in that last game.
Yeah, Holmgren's having a great year. So they have, they've got enough
athletes, every position.
Yeah, they've got athletes. They've got talent to be in the position that they're in. Now they might still be maybe they need to lose in the Western Conference Finals or whatever to in order to get over that hump. You know what I mean? Like they are still obviously a young team and they lack that experience. So that's one thing that's definitely going against them. But as far as talent's concerned, like they deserve to be where they're at, and they can outrun teams, they can out hustle teams. They can out leg, like they've got those young legs. Like when you get to the end of the year, and especially now, we're seeing guys dropping left and right. Some of them are a little bit older in age too. Like these young cats, they can go longer.
You have an MVP candidate too, John. You got Jokic or SGA?
Jokic by it's not even SGA. It's Jokic, Luka, a drop.
Oh, you're not going SGA too?
No.
I don't even think it's a debate. I think it's like a heavy favorite Jokic.
It's Jokic, then Luka, then a drop to 3. And honestly, I think that's
second, Jimmy.
What's that?
Do you have Shea second?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I love Brunson, but I don't think he's done enough to.
He's probably top 5.
Yeah, but
Brunson not going to finish top 5, is he?
Brunson took all of Tatum's juice. He did.
Yeah,
he took it all.
I like the fact that like SGA getting that 1 seed or leading his team to that 1 seed. I just talked about the other players on that team, obviously, but I think that's going to count for a lot too. If you're talking about,
it's going to be interesting. The awards, especially the big one, all the Celtics fans are going to look at is Jalen all defense. He's probably not going to get in.
Oh, come on.
I love his case. He's probably not going to get in. Everyone's going to freak
out. You love
out.
his case?
Yes. I thought you had an excellent year on that end.
I thought he had a good year. I think excellent is taking credit away from some people
I don't
who
think it
make
was
defense.
consistent.
Yeah, who make
I'm not
defense.
saying he should be in, John. I'm just saying he had an excellent year worth
Some people make
considering.
defense their everything. I think Jaylen Brown, hats off to him for having the focus and the desire to be consistently a good on-ball defender, and the weakest part of his defensive game is an off-ball defender. What he's doing just in the team scheme, far less falling asleep, missing assignments, over helping, letting guys backdoor him and this and that. Losing sight and losing track of people. That's always been the knock on him. It was in years past an infuriating trait of his where he would just completely disappear mentally from the defensive end of the floor at critical times. And this year, way less of that. And the on-ball defense, he locked up some guys. He changed some games with his defense. I just don't think it's enough for the all defense. I think if people are looking for something here, it's going to be this Jaylen with reduced
Probably get a couple
scoring.
votes, but yeah, I don't see him
Sneak into all NBA. I think that's his thing. Also, positionless all NBA defense is going to have like 4 centers, including Wemby and Gobert. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
They will have 2 all defensive guys though, which I did predict in our predictions article. Maybe not a bold prediction there, but White and Holiday should be in.
They will?
White and Holiday.
I don't think Holiday makes it. I think it's just White.
Holiday will.
White second team, and that's it.
Wow, no Holiday?
No, not this year. I don't think so. I'm told I have
maybe,
a little bit
Team
of
USA though.
I'm told I have a little bit of Eric Spoelstra
Butler?
sound. We'll throw that in here right now. Just talking about kind of the Heat once again, not making life easy on themselves.
The hard way. That has to be the path, right now. We're going to rest up, treat up, rally around each other up, get ready for Friday. And again, embrace these competitive games. It'll be competitive in front of our home fans. And then we're going to bring a hell of a game on Friday night lights.
Friday Night Lights.
And do this the hard way. That's just the way the deal is right now.
You must be so tired of doing it the hard way.
Yeah.
This is 3 straight years of it.
Yeah. No, maybe they'll sneak it out on Friday, but there's a dead team walking here. The Heat are not. They don't have the dogs right now.
We'll see.
I hate to rule them out. You can never rule them out.
You can't without
They're
Butler.
playing the Bulls.
I'm saying they might get by the Bulls, but
okay.
what's the end game, right? You know what I mean? Like,
well, you get
winner gets to get their doors blown off by
MCL.
the Celtics.
John, I've never seen MCL out like a day or 2 and back. MCL sounds like weeks.
It's like everything. It's the grade.
Yeah.
There's some video of them like barely being able to walk.
But like a legit MCL sprain is like 2 to 3 weeks, like the mildest you could possibly have. I don't know, man.
It doesn't sound good.
Spo didn't sound like a guy who was about to get Jimmy Butler back for game for Friday. It sounded like they were going to have to really dig deep.
Talk about Butler. I mean, the guy's 33, 34. You have to coast at that age. You can't go hard all season.
The irony is, of the whole Heat, were bad this year. They were worse. I mean, they were worse last year, record-wise. They were still an 8 seed. I think they had 2 more wins this year than they had last year.
They were a mess in the regular season.
Yeah, they were a mess. But yeah, I don't know. To
me, it's not even so much about the Heat. It's like if you think the Celtics are much better this year than they were last year, then it shouldn't even matter. Like the Heat aren't that. Let's better than they were last year.
Yeah, like Butler's knee will swell up. and then it's whether or not it comes back down. I think if he played the rest of the game on it.
He
So
did, Leon
I don't
did
think
that
that.
with a
Yeah.
torn ACL.
yeah, he played the rest of the game on it. So I
don't think that
I-
makes
he-
you optimistic going forward, but we'll see.
I don't know. He might be invincible. It doesn't matter.
Hey, if you're gonna play through something now, one game, do or die is the time to do it. So
Yeah. Joe, quick update before we wrap. It is a 21-point game now. It looks very much
It's
like
over. Let's
Celtics.
just crown
Celtics
the
are playing. We'll play the winner of the Heat and the Bulls, which will be Friday night. So that's what we got
all that
there.
Hawks talk. All that
Chicago
worry about
or
the
Miami.
Hawks.
Yeah. Oh
The
no,
Hawks-
the Hawks.
Hawks Super Bowl.
I like
was-
Chicago. You are
was when
not
they
going to
beat the
see me
Celtics.
crying about going to
22
Chicago.
points. Yep.
I like Chicago a lot.
Well,
I like Chicago a lot. The last thing somebody in the chat asked us to talk about, so we'll throw it out there. Big news coming down. Was it today? I'm all messed up day
it
wise.
was.
Yep, today.
Yeah, it was.
Jontay Porter, lifetime ban from the NBA for violating gambling rules.
Can't
Good.
do it. Yeah.
Can't
Couldn't
do
be
it.
any stupider. Bet on
I
Toronto
mean-
Raptors games. Bet on his own performance.
There's nothing worse than clearly taking the money. Like, he took money to underperform. It's not even the betting. He clearly took dough and then faked an injury so his unders would hit. There's nothing worse than that.
Is that
That's-
exactly? Okay, so you think he faked it?
Meanwhile, Jimmy,
That's what tipped him off. The two games where the heaviest money came in on
Oh yeah, there's a
Jontay
guy. Yeah,
Porter.
I saw that. There's
Jontay
like
Porter unders, and he opted out of both games. And the number one bet in the entire league are Jontay Porter 3-point attempt unders, and he asked out.
It was like an $80,000 parlay.
how did they think
Some
this
guy
was
that
gonna
no
work?
one's ever heard of, like
To win $1 million.
yeah, like the book, like the book.
It's the dumbest thing
yeah,
ever.
We're not gonna let you bet this, dude. Like,
How did they
Yeah.
think this was gonna work?
because they're
Oh my
fucking
god.
morons, man. Yeah, I mean that was a layup, no pun intended. but, like,
80K for 1.2 million. They were like, oh my god.
yeah, they're like, yeah, we're just not gonna take that bet. And
And-
oh, by the way,
yeah.
we're gonna report you for being sketchy.
It's the dumbest shit. It's so dumb and so obvious. And honestly, stupidity, it's every once in a while, stupidity, is punished. So a lot of people get away with being stupid forever.
Yeah,
And this is great because this was so blatant and so dumb. And honestly, it's dangerous. Like, I don't want to sermonize here, like, about it, but like, you're on shaky ground here with things. Like, you already have a ref scandal. You've got Gobert doing this to refs. You had Shaq in a podcast the other day, like, oh, I knew which refs were on the take. Like, there's an underlying vibe that, like, money's in this game and it's affecting how games are called. And like, when you start talking about affecting how games are played, that's massive integrity issues. Like,
You
the
have
last thing
injury
you want to
report
do.
issues right now. You have
Yeah.
guys
Yeah,
sitting
the
out
whole-
games. You have
But there's
All
nothing
kinds of
worse than
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
Because losers like us spend our entire lives either making a career or just spending an inordinate amount of our personal lives paying attention and caring way too much about sports. Imagine how shattering it would be if you found out that the whole thing was bullshit and rigged, or, it's just not on the up and up. Like, what's the point
Right.
of this? It would just kill it. You can't have that. Can't have it. It's so
my
bad.
entire life was a lie.
I've totally lived a lie. I've
you
wasted
do
my
it?
life.
How could
You
do
know,
it too?
we already know we've wasted our lives, but like, you don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
we don't need a
hammer home the
reminder.
point. Yeah.
and by the way,
Yeah, let me just live and die by this game and just think that it's like actually happening and not a big farce, like
We-
WWE or something.
we understand the pitfalls of gambling here too, and the association and all that with the league. But at the same time, and to give some credence to Adam Silver, who I know has gotten a lot of criticism for this is the legal system working. you do something like this, an alarm goes off, boom, you're banned for life. Now, how would they have handled this if it was X star? I don't even want to throw a
Hey,
name out there.
Otani, then blame it on his interpreter.
Yeah. So I guess that's what you're going to get into here. It's easy to ban Jontay Porter for life. What if
Right.
this happens with someone a little more notable?
Jontay Porter was
It's a
just
slippery slope with all this stuff. But I guess in this situation, you saw the legal system work. Because guess what? If betting wasn't legal, he could still do this. So
he could still do it, but he couldn't do it on an app. Like he was probably I don't know where he was doing it from, but it's so much more attainable now and available to people to do, where it's like you're bound to get in more trouble. But yeah, Jontay Porter, I mean, what was going to happen first? He was going to get banned from the league, or he just wasn't good enough to be in the league. Like one of those things was going to happen, like this year, anyways, I guess. But Michael Porter's brother,
Yeah.
how about that? That's
Yes.
kind of a
How about
awkward
that?
dinner table discussion at the next.
Yeah,
football
like
game.
just ask your brother for some.
Yeah, dude. Like, what are you're like? Just make a couple simple investments. Like CD rates are like 5% right now. Like you could have just taken a paycheck, like roll that over. Like like what are you doing? Like now
you have
look
to
at you.
tank
Now
your
you gotta go
own
to
games.
China. Now you gotta go to China.
And again, someone saying, of course, like no good player is going to do it. It has to be the Jontay Porter level, but also that makes it so much more sketchy because you can't bet like a star player can the outcome of a game, right? A guy playing 12 minutes a game really only has minimum amount of control over what they do. That's about it. And really the only thing that you can guarantee is that they go under some of their props. That's about it. And it has to be a guy signed on a two-way whose end future isn't guaranteed, or as Shaq said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, or a ref, because they don't make enough money. It's never going to be a player. So those are the guys who are susceptible here to this. And again, we're going to wrap it up. We're just counting down officially as you see the banner on the screen. It is a minute left in this game, down to 16, but who cares here? It's over. Celtics playing the winner of Heat versus Bulls on Friday. The Sixers get 7 seed. They are taking on the Knicks.
Hawks go home.
The Hawks.
Yeah, but like what
the Hawks try to figure out where they're going to send. They send Trae Young to the Lakers.
Or the Spurs, something like that.
So you dodge Philly. If you get the Heat, you get Butler. Look at everything coming up. Celtics, right? You dodge the Sixers. You might get the Heat, but if you do, it might be without Jimmy Butler or with a severely hobbled Jimmy Butler. And Atlanta's dangerous. Atlanta shits the bed. They go down. So now you're looking at the Heat team or the Bulls. I don't know what else. I don't know what more you could have asked for out of this. And then that's ridiculous Cleveland-Orlando bracket.
Just take care of your business.
It won't be. You know what's not going to be fun? You know who won't have fun? Who might not have fun? Jason Tatum, Caruso, and Isaac. Won't necessarily be fun. Celtics still win those series going away, but that's not super fun.
Not for them.
Should bother them too much.
We'll have fun.
Yeah.
Sunday, 1:00. We'll have some fun. We got a post-game show.
I still hope it's the Heat.
See who it is against. Bobby will be there regardless. Josue will be there. Sherrod will be there. I'll be right here.
Yeah, and Yeah. And again, Heat has a little bit more juice because there's history and some good tests here. Great to see how Joe reacts to different things. Spoelstra, again, I think is clearly in a class of his own as far as coaches go.
Bruin
By
Saturday.
the way, 2 years ago today, that great game 1, Nets Celtics with the Tatum game winner. Talk about
the last
juice.
game winner he ever hit.
Maybe. I don't remember any game having more juice than that one. So I was hoping Heat Celtics rematch, a little similar juice to that. Butler can get back out there. I'm still holding out hope. I don't want a 4-0 boring game round 1 where we're all sitting at home for 6 more days waiting for round 2. Give us a little
As
juice.
it is. What's the schedule? Sunday,
Be careful.
Wednesday.
Saturday.
Is that right? What? No.
What do you mean,
Is it
Sunday,
Wednesday?
Wednesday, Saturday. So 2 days
Oh,
between
geez.
each game.
That's
They really
disgusting.
drag that out, huh?
Anyway, game is over. It is the Heat or the Bulls. That's who the Celtics play. Thanks for hanging out with us here. I know some people are watching this game as well. As we might have one more Garden report before the playoffs begin, but otherwise we will definitely see everybody on Sunday. Late night. Look at Bobby. We're ending it with these guys yawning.
I am tired, man. I got to get up for work. Let's get the hell out of here.
It's only 9 p.m. where I am out west here, so I'm on my way to
Yeah.
dinner, guys. I'll see you guys later.
Oh, casino.
Yeah, I wasn't down the street at the Holiday Inn. I lied. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys later. Take care.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game.
Porford's out. I think it's an option.
That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.